Hello everybody. Another podcast. We've been banging these out. SFL.media is the team. I am Mr. Mister. Josh W is my handle, and his handle is at PJZNY. That is Patrick Zarrelli. And Pat has a real hard on for aliens. I do too. And me and Pat have never really talked about this too much till recently. I know Pat a long, long time. And maybe he had a passing interest. I don't know. I'm a believer. Some people are not. Um, but Pat is really into the disclosure. He's really looking forward to when Trump finally unseals this whole UFO situation. So Pat's going to really spearhead this particular podcast. I have some questions, but he has done such a deep dive and has an amazing article as well. And to follow it up with actually some more articles to be read and seen on SFL.media. So without further ado, I'm going to give Pat the floor here and enjoy this podcast. This is about the disclosure, aliens.
I'm so excited because this is my favorite topic, because I honestly feel like this is the biggest story of our lifetime. People are asleep on this because Trump has everyone burned out on the news. So they are absolutely asleep on this story. And last time we did our first podcast on it, and the government has been investigating aliens, UFOs, UAPs, USOs for decades. So there's a lot there. In our first podcast, we kind of just threw all the stuff against the wall, my theories, things we've read, heard, whatever. But this is more important, this podcast. So if you watch anything on this, this is going to be a great base for you, because what I have here, I've broken it down into 4 sections, okay? Hardware and recovery claims, nature of reality claims, strategic and tactical claims, and shadow government claims, okay? 4 general areas that you need to know about. And what's interesting about this list that I've compiled here, and that I'm going to go over with these 4 sections, is that everything here has to do with actual government testimony. So high-end security officials, military officials, U.S. pilots, things like that have testified under oath about these things, right? So this is highly credible information. So even without disclosure, when I read you these things together, these things that have been said under oath in hearings and whatever, you will basically have a whole idea kind of forming for you on what to expect from disclosure. Does that make sense?
It does. So I think it's safe to say you are a believer, correct?
I don't think I'm just a believer at this point. I think I'm actually well-read on the
Yes. So what is the first part? You said breaking
the first part.
What's this first part called
Let
again?
me hit you with the first part. So this is hardware, recovery, and claims. So I'm going to tell you the person, who they are, and what they've stated under oath about this subject, okay?
All right.
So we're going to start with David Grusch, who a lot of people have heard of. He's a former intelligence officer. He was actually on the UAP task force. So you don't get much closer than that, okay? The program. He claims the U.S. has a multi-decade crash retrieval program involving non-human craft. I think a lot of people just immediately assume that. Biologics. Asserted under oath that non-human biologics bodies were recovered at some of these crash sites. Okay? That's David Grusch. Now, in the same subject line, you have Dr. James Likataski. He's a former DIA program manager, and he said that we have had entry into craft, stated in recent writings that the U.S. has not only recovered a craft of unknown origin, but has successfully gained entry into the interior. Technology gap. He claims the craft's configuration suggests a physics we do not fully grasp. Jay Stratton, this is another one. He's a former director as well. I'm talking director level here, okay? UAP task force member himself. He says legacy evidence claims to have seen evidence of legacy programs hidden behind deep siloing within intelligence community since the mid-20th century. Global competition. He asserts that this is a Cold War style race between the US, China, and Russia. So that right there, my friends, is 4 high-level government officials that are testifying under oath saying that we have crafts and bodies, and we've been doing it since the 20s. What do you think about that?
Yeah, by the way, it makes sense. Yeah, I think this goes very far back. You know, what's amazing about it is how long they have kept this a secret for. If you're talking about back to the 20s, you're talking about 100 years of secrecy.
It's not just secrecy. They were actively planting fake stories and trying to send people down rabbit holes. They created a whole fake reality for us, which, if you want my honest opinion, I believe it to be illegal. They hid some of these programs even from the Gang of Eight, which means like the top 8 people in Congress that
Hmm.
are supposed to be read in on everything. So they
Right.
basically took American taxpayer money. They lied about where it was going. They funded these programs and they kept them in the defense sector. I would argue that the defense sector is one of the last places that should have secrets as deep. These things should be shared with philosophers, scientists, ultimately with the people. To act like a general is somehow better qualified to handle our own reality information about where we come from, who we are, where our place is in the universe, I think is outrageous. I mean, clearly every science could benefit from this type of knowledge and every human could benefit. So I believe it's a crime that they held it back. I think it's a huge financial crime how they funded all this stuff. And I think they basically have created a constitutional crisis because they created programs outside the purview of Congress.
Yeah. It's obviously it's a distrust of the American public. They're not just doing it with this. They do it with many things. They just don't think we're smart enough, or they think they because there are keepers that we can't handle the truth. So I mean, and it's probably multiple reasons, and so this is I think this is
The
a
whole we
very
can't
big.
handle the truth thing is such a crock of shit. Like, I'm sure when disclosure comes, there'll be people that quit their jobs and there'll be hippies standing on the top of the mountain waving flags like, come get me, pick me up. I'm sure that'll happen. But for most of us, we'll go to work the next day. We're not going to send our checking account into the negative or do anything crazy. We're just going to have a deeper knowledge of where we're from. And the idea that somehow if you're in the military, you're better qualified to handle information is not true. You're better qualified to represent us in the defense of the nation, for sure, but you're not the best qualified to steward the most important information ever known to mankind. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
again,
are you
not
ready
that I
for number
agree, but
two?
they think they know best. What's number two?
The nature of reality claims. Now we're going to go deeper down the rabbit hole because I already got you guys on board. Okay, ready? This is Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She is a U.S. Congresswoman, a former Air Force woman, and she was also she's currently a Florida representative. So
Hmm.
she claims interdimensional beings. Claims evidence suggests these entities are not from other planets, but are interdimensional, existing in parallel universes to our reality. Think about that one. Interdimensional. They can come and go. The
Hmm.
video leak asserted that 46 specific high definition videos, including spherical UAPs, exist and are being illegally withheld from Congress. She says that basically there's a secret database out there and they have like 46 like really great videos of this stuff and it's not being released and it's hid from everybody, even the Gang of Eight. I saw her claims about interdimensional beings and so it was a newscast and some of the religious people were saying, oh, they're angels coming and watching over us, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. You could debate that, but I think what's clear is it's kind of like we exist, and there's people checking in on us. They're not trying to hurt us or kill us. They kind of have a vested interest in us not fucking up the place. So does that mean they're living here with us, and our bad behavior can somehow affect them, or they're us in the future and they're trying to help us, or any of these wild theories you can come up with? But long story short, people are looking after us and visiting the area. Now, hold on. I got to keep going because I know you got a lot to say on that, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Representative Tim Burchett, U.S. Congressman from Tennessee, origin story, frequently claims that disclosure will rewrite our origin story and change how we view our place in the universe. Asserts that tech is so advanced that if the entities were hostile, humanity would have been charcoal briquettes a long time ago. That's Tim Burchett. Now,
Yeah.
also, Lou Elizondo, former director, and he's on the AATIP, which is another one of these task force. The five observables claims UAP exhibits physics defying traits: anti gravity, sudden acceleration, hypersonic speeds without signature, low observability, and transmedium travel. I'm so excited about this subject. I get going. Human involvement has hinted at genetic connection or curation of humanity by these non human intelligences. So see here what you're getting at. In human evolution, there's a thing called like the technological advance. It's like the intellectual revolution, they call it. And they're not really sure what happened there with humans. And it looks like now the idea that we just kind of like, came out of the pond and slowly evolved and somehow we're more evolved than everything else on the planet that's at the exact same level is not actually the case. That maybe humanity was given some sort of boost of some sort, and that's going to change our whole story of where we came from. So,
Well,
I mean, think about
it
that.
is funny that you say that because look, the same way people like to say that the Bible is a fable, right? Um, and hear me out on this. This is an interesting point that lends to where we really don't know where we're coming from. So maybe we exactly are coming from what we're talking about now. We've been taught for years one of two things: we're either a creation of God or we're a creation of evolution. If you really boil it down, it was never about aliens. It was never about anything else. It came down to two theories. I think we can agree on that. Okay, so the God one was always kind of thrown out like, well, there's no proof of that, and that's a religious thing, and it's not science. So it was completely dispelled in a sense by thinkers, so to speak, because it's not science. But riddle me this: why is it that because science, with really no proof other than we're told evolution is this theory, and there is an evolutionary theory that we came from monkeys? Well, all right, let me go back. We came from Cro-Magnon man, Neanderthal man, who came from monkeys, who came from fish, who came from amoeba, who came from the water, who came from the zygote or whatever the fuck. My point is this: why is that entirely provable? It really isn't. It's going back eons of years where we're just saying, well, science says this. So I'd like your opinion on that. I think you've got to juggle that same potato that just because science says it was an evolutionary process. By the way, we still have monkeys, orangutans, gorillas, apes. They have not evolved.
Yeah,
They
but
should
you
all
don't
be
have
human
like a
beings,
crow.
right?
You don't have like a Cro-Magnon man. So they have the
Yeah,
fossil
exactly.
record.
So,
They have
but
the
you don't have a
fossil record.
Cro-Magnon. So isn't it as fabled as the Bible? And maybe, just maybe, there's a third story we're not being told,
There is a
and
third
it's the
story we're not
alien
being told, and
story.
it's a melding of the both. Now, Representative Luna said that basically the ancients were writing about this. So the whole Ancient Aliens thing, not the TV show, but the idea that there was intelligence back then, of some sort, or maybe visits or whatever, it looks like that's probably true, and that they had written some of this down, and they understood some of it, or maybe they had contact with certain beings or whatever. Now, the one of the arguments is it's not really like, did we participate in evolution? Surely we evolved on some level, but was our evolution aided or spiked? And so now we're going to go off of like what we know has been testified under oath, and I'm going to go into like the side lane. And so I'm going to say this: like, if you're traveling around the universe and you're an interdimensional being, well, there's two ways to look at this, right? Let's go with hers first. You're an interdimensional being. If you're an interdimensional being and you either have us in like a petri dish and you're kind of cultivating us as humanity or whatever, or if you're sharing the space with us in a dimension that we can't see, either way, you have a vested interest in us not blowing up the place, right? If we're in a fish tank in your corner of your apartment and the fish start building nuclear weapons, you're going to turn off the fish's nuclear weapons so they don't blow up the fish tank in the corner of the apartment. So
Right.
there's that. There's the thing that like they're kind of like custodians of us in the universe or something, and they're kind of looking over us, or they're angels, right? There's that part of it. Um, that's one way to look at it, okay? But the other way to look at it is that basically we were kind of evolving with everything else on the planet, and something visited here and spiked us to get us to either help them or help us along or whatever. And the reason that's interesting is I think it plays into another theory, which is if you're traveling around the universe, what are you collecting? Are you collecting rocks that you're going to bring back? Probably not. Are you looking for gold? Are you looking for cash of all the different societies? Not really. I believe that DNA would be very valuable. That's probably where you get your alien abduction ideas, because if you see all the different beings on different planets and you collect the best parts of their DNA and you have those on file, then you can make sure that your species can live the longest, because maybe this one, maybe you pull from like sharks, the inability to get cancer and different things here and there, and you can use those to like, help your species. And so it would be interesting if that's part of it. You know what I mean? And the third thing that I'll talk about here that's really crazy too is some people say that it could just be beings that were living in the ocean, in the deep ocean, that got really advanced, and we never even just knew they were down there, and they don't have any interest in telling us, but they do have an interest in us not blowing up the place. So I gave you three like off the wall theories there. There's a theory that we were visited and spiked. There's the theory that someone's just watching over us and making sure we don't blow up the place. And then there's a theory that something's been living alongside us the whole time and they don't want us to blow up the place. So
No,
very, very, very. I mean, it's fringe, it's wild, but this is
no.
what these people are
But
testifying.
I think this will be also the interesting thing, and 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 I hate to burst your bubble with this, but I have a feeling this is what's going to happen. Much like the Epstein thing, I think they're going to release information. They're not going to release it all. They didn't release all the Epstein information. We know that. I think what's going to happen is this: they're going to redact or not share with us everything. My fear is they're going to give us drips and drabs, and in terms of yes, these things exist, the crafts exist, the aliens exist, but we're not going to get the answers of a lot of the stuff of the rabbit hole you've gone down, which is, I just personally believe that they're not going to explain if this is where we're really from. I don't think they're going to explain that they're in the oceans. I don't think they're going to necessarily explain their technologies. I think they're going to give us a very baby food, if you're asking me, a very baby food, easy to swallow. And maybe it's a baby step. Maybe a few years from now, it'll be the next chapter. But I just have this feeling that they're just going to baby formula us. Yes, it's true. Yes, there's a little green man. Yes, there are spaceships. And I think that's where it's going to end.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
Are
do
they
you
going
think
to
there's going
come
to be a
out?
deep
Are they
dive
going to come
here?
out and be like, "Hey, some of them survived the crash and they stayed here for a while, or died here, or we
Maybe, but they're
imprisoned
not going
them"?
to say that they're
No,
having sex with human beings.
I don't
They're
think they're
not going
going
to
to
say
do
that
that
there's a
yet. I
breeding
don't think they're going to
program.
do that yet either. But here's what you have to realize: is once they open the door, and they've started to open the door. Well, let me go take a step back even further. Why are they opening the door now? They may
Well,
be a
that's a great
vested
question.
there may be a vested reason that they have to, that they know something's going to happen. Maybe they've been fucking with these things so much they told them they have to open the door now. I don't fucking know.
We don't, and you
But
know what? We
but
don't know that answer either. And by the
yeah,
way,
the fact
that's
that
a
they're
great
opening the
question.
fact
And
that they
hopefully
are
someone asks that when it happens.
yes, the fact that they are opening the door now is very, very
Why
interesting.
now, President Trump?
Yeah, and it does not just President Trump, but this has been going on for a while. There was testimony coming out, starting to drip down. Like, why are they letting government officials go under oath and testify about this stuff? I know there was a
You're
movie
right.
released called The Age of Disclosure, which has Marco Rubio in it and talking about aliens and things like that. So it's very it's very intentional. Obviously, they're letting this happen. So it's interesting to look into why now. It may be something that's coming down
I
the
don't even
pipe.
know if there's a concrete answer to that.
I
I
really
think it's a
don't.
great question. Though. Someone should put a microphone in someone's face. I don't know if this is going to be a Trump thing or a Congress thing or whatever, but like the actual disclosure of this, like how is this going to be presented? Are they going to do it like Epstein, where they're going to be like, okay, we're putting it on? I think you said there's what is it, UFO.gov? They bought it like
Aliens.gov.
aliens.gov. So you're telling me they're going to be like, all right, we're posting it on aliens.gov, everybody, like it's a Reddit,
That's
and
exactly what
knock
I'm telling
yourself
you.
out.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Our government is not that great, especially under Trump, and they're going to hodgepodge it. And what's going to be great about it is people are going to start to pick it apart. Other people are going to start to testify. People are going to read between the lines. People are going to find out, just like the Epstein files, how to pull other parts of the files open. They're going to find out where these areas are. They're going to set up telescopes and cameras. This is going to be a fucking free for all once it opens. So that's why I don't care how much they hold back, because I know our government is like Swiss cheese. The shit's going to come pouring out the holes from every angle once this opens up. Because you know what else, dude? This is already the biggest search on Google. People like me who are reading the story and writing about it, we know it's the biggest story of our lifetime. They're going to rewrite the history books, rewrite everything we know about humanity and our place in the universe, likely. And even if they give us just a little bit, the people are going to be so excited for this story, they're going to tear it apart, and it's all going to come flooding out. There's no way you can't hold this kind of information back. Even if you are a defense contractor, even if you kill a bunch of people, even if you do, put people in jail, once they open the door and they put up aliens.gov and people see what the fuck is really going on, forget about it, dude. It's over. It changes everything. It changes everything.
So what number are you on in the four the four areas you were
Okay,
discussing?
we're on right now. Um, okay, ready? The strategic and tactical claims. This is a good one. Okay,
Okay, go
ready?
ahead.
Okay, Commander David Fravor, retired Navy pilot, witnessed a 40-foot object with no flight surfaces that mirrored an FA-18 and then disappeared instantly. Testified the craft was far superior to anything the U.S. inventory or on the drawing board. Ryan Graves, former Navy pilot, daily sightings, claims Navy pilots saw UAPs off the Virginia coast every day for years. The Cube Sphere describes objects as dark cubes inside clear spheres that could stay perfectly stationary in hurricane force winds. Captain Robert Salas. Do you hear these? Captain, commander,
Yes.
former USAF nuclear officer, testified that a UAP disabled 10 nuclear missiles, Minuteman ICBMs, simultaneously while hovering over Maelstrom Air Force Base in 1967. Intentional interference. Claims this demonstrates a specific ability of the phenomena to neutralize our most sensitive weapon systems. What do you think about that? These things hang around battle zones, nuclear weapons, things like that. And like I said, they don't want to kill us. They want to keep us from fucking the place up. It's interesting.
Do you think nuclear technology came from them?
No, I think they don't want any part of it. There's a big argument here, especially that girl, I think her name was Allison, one of the abductees, that she said these aliens are from the future. They had figured out time travel and they were coming back to prevent us from nuking the place. And the reason they have big eyes and they're gray with the big heads and no hair is because after the nuclear war, some people went underground and some people survived above ground. The people that survived above ground are kind of in a war with the people that went underground because they probably had all the resources. The people that were underground lived underground for so many generations aliens that they developed the big eyes to see and they lost all their hair and stuff. That's what she said. And she's fucking
That
she
that that
disappeared
that
off a hike like that.
that's pretty fascinating because that's probably exactly what would happen if you were some sort of mole man or cave dweller or underground
Well, she
anything.
was dropping charts and stuff. She said their P-32s that they had met were 32 were people that were 32,000 years in the future, and they had P-45s that were people that were 45,000 years in the future. And then it really goes down a rabbit hole where one of them came back and he was with us for a while, and he gave us a bunch of information, and we were kind of trying to help them because they needed some help with their I guess with their DNA from living underground for so long. And so they were coming back to get that. And there was kind of like a deal program that was made with the US government. It gets real wild down the UFO conspiracy line. But now with all this other stuff happening, I mean, God knows that could be fucking true. Who knows?
All right, so that's number three. I think you have a fourth part to that.
The shadow government. This is just basically how your government is fucking us over every day. What else is fucking new? Ready? The shadow government. They have a hidden database. Claims of an unacknowledged program exists solely to capture and hide high quality sensor data of UAPs from the rest of the government. Constitutional overreach alleges the program was designed specifically to bypass the Gang of Eight and congressional oversight. I mean, imagine that they designed the program to specifically go around the Gang of Eight. And if that's the people right there. The Gang of Eight is the best representation of the people you get. That's the Senate and Congress. That's ridiculous. Okay, Rear Admiral Tim Galloway, retired Navy and former NOAA admin. USO sightings claims the phenomenon is equally active underwater, moving at hundreds of knots without creating a wake or cavitation. States the U.S. government is actively conducting testing and tracking of large vessels underwater. One of them is large as a football field.
Mm-hmm. So
that's where
look, it's all very fascinating, and I mean, I think didn't you mention that there was a deadline they've already missed a deadline with this, correct?
So Luna from the Air
Not
Force,
a reveal.
Luna, she gave them a deadline to release certain stuff. And the fucking Defense Department said that they did not get the letter. So they're playing games. But Trump gave them a deadline, and in the new law that was passed, I think it was a presidential order or that was passed, and he said that they have to first disclose like whatever all the secret programs are. Like whatever the classification system is, we need to see the whole system. We need to know like on paper what the fuck is out there. Like we need to see the branches. And that was the first thing that's supposed to come out. I don't think that's come out yet. And then all this other stuff is stuff to come out. But you have to realize here, dude, the stuff that I just read you, not the stuff that we sidebarred with, but the main stuff, these are U.S. representatives in the House, that are talking about this stuff. They're being read this stuff in secret rooms and skiffs, and they're fucking coming out and they're talking about this stuff. And these other people like David Grusch, these people were on these task force and they're testifying under oath at great risk to themselves. They could easily be imprisoned for lying about something so groundbreaking, right? And so I think
they
that
put a target on themselves in many aspects, and that's why we're seeing these stories. I mean, even the most layman who doesn't follow the news is probably caught some sort of headline about these scientists that are being killed or missing or what have you. I think it's when the mainstream media starts, you can't hide it anymore because this is abnormal. There shouldn't be 13 of anything going and missing. If there were 13 prostitutes in a city that went missing, everyone's paying attention to a serial killer, what's going on. So this is way bigger than anything
and then
like that.
it blew my mind to find out there's also 10 missing from China. And let's be honest, Russia's probably not that great at retrieving these things. They're probably trying to get them when they can, and they cover a big area, so they get them. The people that are retrieving these saucers and shit, it's China and the USA. They're in a UFO arms race to get these things and take control of them. And there's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down, which is like government programs that are actually doing like double time. Like some of the satellite stuff that they want to do and put into space, like this Golden Dome program, is really they want to finally get a tracking of the UFOs coming and going. So that would be like another thing the Golden Globe program could do. One, it could protect us from a missile attack. It could also track the things.
So like air traffic control for spaceships.
Yeah. So there's that side of it too. There's the part of like the really secret stuff that they're just stealing money from us and hiding. And then there's other parts where there's programs that are public and they're also doing double time. You know what I mean?
So here I'm going to ask you two questions, but this one, there's a curveball. What is Israel's role in this? We know Israel's got some sort of fucking role in this.
I mean, I
I
think
don't know what it is, but where does Israel come into play here?
I'm sure that Israel has stolen all the information on this. I'm sure they have a ton of information on it. You know what I mean? What kind of tech they can actually develop and sit on, I have no idea. But I'm sure alien
But we
disclosure.
know they're a part of something here.
Dude,
Can we agree on that?
You drop alien disclosure, it'll definitely buy them 6 months of bombing in the Middle East that no one will care about.
Oh my God. They're begging him to release that. They could take Lebanon out. And
that's the only thing that could change the news. It's the only thing that could change the news story, honestly. But I'll tell you what,
my God.
People are so burnt out. They're asleep on this stuff. They've been so brainwashed to think that this is cuckoo. Look, the government spent billions of dollars, tons of energy. They controlled Walter Cronkite, all the news people, and they made us think we lived in this black and white world and we don't. We don't. Psychics are probably real. Aliens are probably real. Jeffrey Epstein was real. Like all the monsters are probably real.
Keep this in mind because we come from a time. The internet, for what it's worth, forget the porn, forget social media, forget games. The ability for us to learn, be our own medias, and learn about things that they controlled, like you just said. There was a time that it was only books, encyclopedias, magazines, newspapers. They controlled all of it, TV, radio, whatever. They controlled all of it. So the information you got and the radius and circumference of your information was only the diameter of what they allowed you to know. The internet changed all of that. You can now go down rabbit holes, but you're right. They paid these people. They controlled all of it. And remember, pre-technology, you watched a half hour of news. We talked about this before. Maybe you read a newspaper, but the quest for information was not at your disposal. And now it is, and that changed everything. And they realized that was a dangerous thing. It created a problem for them. On the same token, it's also created a way for them to spy on us and get the drop on everything we do. So it's a dual-edged sword. But I can tell you this, you're very right. There was a time it was much easier to keep secrets. It was much easier to dictate what people knew and how much they knew because they controlled all the forms of information. And now they don't.
There's the old Roswell one, right? The old chestnut, the Roswell crash everybody knows about. And basically there was a crash. It hit the newspaper. There's been a UFO crash, all stuff. And then the next thing you know, there's a sheriff that comes out and says, hey, this is a weather balloon. Look at the tinfoil, right?
Right.
And so that actual sheriff later in his life came back and said that the government came in, put that stuff there and was like, look, you're going to say it's this. We'll give you some money. Like we can't have mass hysteria. And he went along with it because he thought it was the right thing to do. So even that case right there, like tells you. And I think that we have seen basically that just grew and grew over the years into this huge secret basic program that was based in the Defense Department, and nobody else in the country, whether you were a scientist, an astronomer, a philosopher, had any access to this information, and the information got wildly deep. I think to the point now, and you can quote me on this, I think the Defense Department has more advanced scientific information in terms of travel and space and aliens and stuff like that than NASA has themselves. That's what I think. I think they're way ahead of NASA, the Defense Department.
I want to know if there are Jewish aliens. I want to know if they have banks on their planets. I want to know if there are Zionist aliens. I think we need to know that. And I hope that comes out in the disclosure. And while I am making a little silly out of that because it's funny to me, I would love to see the alien with the curly hairs, down the sides of their face. I think that'd be hilarious. Matter of fact, I'm going to chat GPT that tonight and make it my screensaver on my phone. But on a side note, when we were talking about doing this, we came across an article. I sent it to you. It was very short, very, very short. And it said that they are going to the Christian community all around the country, and they are preparing them. They're telling them, you need to talk to your constituents and your parishioners, because when we release this, I found this pretty fascinating. This is going to throw such a monkey wrench into your shit, your dogma, the things you've been teaching people for years and years and years, which makes me feel that there's some Anunnaki shit in this. Because why is it even touching religion in any way? But that they put out a warning shot. Like, when we release this, this is going to be a problem for you guys. And they are like that. I find that fascinating that they
There's
already are
plenty,
letting them know,
there's
like,
plenty of
you
people
know,
inside. When you get reading, there's plenty of people inside the UFO community that believe the church has had a lot of this information because they're a big historian for a lot of years, so that they've already known about it. And yes, there is a lot of news on multiple sources now that say the government has been prepping the priests. Look, they bought aliens.com. Everybody, it's leaking like a sieve. The shit is so fucking wild that when these senators and congress people that are busy insider trading and robbing us blind are so struck by what they hear, they go leaking it out immediately into the media, these profound things of angels and demons and interdimensional beings and all of this shit. I mean, we're in a wild, wild place right now, folks. And I don't think people realize how crazy this is about to get. And yeah, I think it will throw religion out the window. I think it throws government out the window. As soon as you find out that there's advanced beings looking over us, turning the nukes on and off, guess what? That's the new mommy and daddy. Old person in the government doesn't matter anymore. Who gives a fuck what Trump or Netanyahu or Putin says? There's beings coming from another dimension turning the nukes off. You can threaten me with nuclear war all you want. That motherfucker ain't gonna let you do it. So now what? Do you know what I'm saying, dude? The,
yeah.
the 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 scope, the gravity of the things that we are talking about right now, dude, are absolutely life-changing. I'm talking about when you talk about time itself, you talk about before Christ and after Christ, because Christ was such a significant person in human history. You are going to talk about before disclosure and after disclosure. This is the next Christ-like event. That's how big this is.
Well, so that makes me, and we can maybe, I don't know how much more you have here, but I think I have one final question for you, and we can maybe wrap this up. This has been very informative, and I mean, we're going to be the first ones to throw out another episode when this disclosure finally happens, folks. So you can count on that. But I got an interesting question for you. So, we kind of, those of us that were on the Trump train or MAGA, this and that, a lot of us have jumped off. Maybe I haven't jumped off 100%, but I'm certainly not happy with how things have gone. Obviously, we know you're not a fan. You didn't vote for this gentleman, whatever. So my question to you is, if this gets released and he puts out a fair amount of information that you find like holy shit worthy, what is his role in history in your eyes? What becomes your opinion of President Trump and his role in history? And this is, again, I'm asking you because I know you basically hate this guy, but you're so big on this. How does it change how you feel about this guy if he becomes the one that finally unearths it?
Fascinating question. I'll tell you this too, and I'm gonna surprise a lot of people right now, but I'm gonna hit you with some reality too behind what
Let's
I'm
hear
gonna
it.
say. If President Trump releases information that one changes the story of human history, as in where we came from, our origin story, if he changes our origin story, or if he gives us information of other beings that are living and visiting our planet, or if he gives us information of interdimensional beings watching over us, anything along those lines, he becomes one of the greatest humans in human history. Absolutely. Point of fact, dude. You cannot deny it. Dude, you're talking about somebody who changed the course of human history for every future human being. He talks about Julius Caesar, he talks about Napoleon. Bro, he would be bigger than both of them. Neither one of them, they had a huge effect on their time, but neither one of them changed the future for every fucking human to live
Right.
after him. Do you understand that, dude? Like, I mean, yes, okay, what are we talking about with Donald Trump? Let's be real. We're talking about a guy who's committed a bunch of like bullshit, like sex crimes and financial crimes, horrible, and he started some wars. Okay, so he's like a lot of other politicians just on steroids, right? That's not a great person. I don't enjoy that person. I don't think he's a good leader, any of that, right? But if he changes what I know about my own very existence, about where I came from, about my place in the universe, about life and death itself, if he gave me some comfort that I might not die, that there's more to this fucking story, I don't give a fuck what else he did, dude. That alone is good enough to write him into the history books, dude. I'm telling you, he would be like a Jesus Christ like figure if he releases information like this. And then inversely, bro, now we have to turn around. We got to take a hard look. We got to look at Obama. We got to look at Biden. We got to look at the Bush family. We got to look at the
Right.
people who
People that
didn't
already
tell
knew.
us about our own existence, people who kept these secrets, people who
Right.
benefited from this, defense
Right.
contractors, the Pentagon, your Norman fucking Schwarzkopfs of the world. All of those people, dude, should be put in front of fucking juries. They should have to answer questions. What did you know? When did you know it? Why did you hide this information? How many humans did you let die without knowing this groundbreaking information that could have changed their fucking lives? How
You
many
know,
people
and
suffered because you didn't release this information? Are
it's
you
funny
kidding
that you
me?
also say this, that you bring them up because, and I think we talked about this before, when they asked Obama very recently, do you believe that the aliens are real? And he's like, I do. And he said yes. And a lot of people cut it right there. But he kept going and he absolved himself. I implore anybody to go and find him. You'll find it on YouTube. And he followed up by saying, but whoever knew that and whoever had the information, they didn't share it with me. He openly says that. So he absolved. Now, I don't believe that, by the way. I agree with you that these people all know, because how can you not? You're fucking the president of the United States. So where did this buck stop that it didn't get to you?
Do they not want to tell the president?
But you don't know the ins and outs. He absolved himself of the blame of exactly what you're talking about.
Well, do they know? Like, do they want to tell the president everything? Probably not. Do they want to tell elected officials?
But this.
That are coming and going, everything. Yeah, and it also depends on who you have. If you put the right people in place, you have a friendship with your Department of Defense head, with your DNI head, and whatever. And there's likely conversations of just healthy nature where you're learning information all the time. So I think
this one gets to the president.
They definitely have that. They definitely have a loose bearing on it. Is Obama going down there and flying down to like wherever these things are stored and personally inspecting them? I don't know. Probably not.
Maybe not that.
I fucking would. I'll tell you that.
Well, who the fuck wouldn't want it? What do you mean?
Yeah.
They always ask these presidents, what's the first question you had? They asked Obama that. This just reminds me. And maybe he was joking and he said it in jest. And they asked him, what was the first question you had when you're president? And he said, are the aliens real?
Bill Clinton, same thing. Bill Clinton, the same thing. But just like they're smart, intelligent people, they get read into a private club. They're not going to come disclose it to us. They're just going to be happy to know that they finally know the truth. But that's also why people like Obama go gray, dude, because they get in there. They're like religious, normal people. They tell them the truth about their existence and their whole head goes white, because that's how fucking shocking it probably is.
Well, I got news for everybody, and we can leave it on this note. If you found the Epstein files fascinating, if you find the Iran war fascinating, if you find politics fascinating, if you think Lindsey Graham is fascinating, because he's a fairy, then this should knock your socks off. At some point, folks, this disclosure is going to happen. I gave my opinion. I think they're going to give it to us as like a little tapioca pudding. Maybe they won't. Maybe listen, that Epstein file, a lot of crazy stuff in it. Did they tell us everything? No. The stuff they told us is still pretty wild shit in there. So let's keep it real. So I think we'll get some information. I don't know if it's going to be, again, the rabbit hole of where this all really comes from with deep explanations. And I'll let you wrap it up here. But I do think that they'll dance around some subjects and they'll touch upon it. And like you said, maybe they'll just put it out there and then it's up to you to research it.
Let me tell you this. The best thing Trump can do is release as much of it as possible, because it's not bad for him. It'll change all the stories. And if you went to humanity and you said, listen, I have the secrets of your existence and I can give them to you for this huge astronomical amount of money, we would have paid it in a heartbeat. So if Trump gives us the secrets of humanity and the secrets of the universe, who gives a fuck how much the motherfucker stole? And I'm just telling you, that's the reality. You look through history, dude. The founding fathers held slaves. They did all these horrible things, but the big things they did right. And a broken clock is right twice a day. So if Trump pulls it out, he releases this information, I'm telling you, dude, I will put on my Trump hat. I will be a supporter of Trump. Everyone will get off the Trump bandwagon. I will be the only one on the Trump bandwagon, because if he gives us the secrets of our existence in the universe, it doesn't matter what else the motherfucker did. He rose to the occasion when he counts. He won in the fourth quarter. He hit the last second jump shot. And that's all the fuck that matters in America.
And that will usher in a new movement in which the red hats will turn green and the green hats will say MAGA, and it will say make aliens great again. A whole new MAGA movement.
Dude, I am fucking here for it. Let's go. Make aliens great again.
By the way, we should make that a hat. Trademark.
We should do that.
100%. 100%. Folks, don't steal that. We already trademarked it. You will get sued. We have big lawyers. Big lawyers. We're in South Florida. Do not steal that.
The biggest.
Yeah. Make aliens great again. That's ours. Anyways, sfl.media. That's the website. That's the YouTube. We're putting up more and more content. We also have the Instagram. I don't think I touched too much on our social media. Go to Instagram. You see lots of these. We also break these down into clips as well. So if you can't stand hearing us talk long form and you just got that 1 minute attention span everyone has, we pop those up as well. A lot of good stuff. We keep it kind of lighthearted, folks, but we talk about important stuff. Hey, I can't help it. These are two very smart people you're listening to. I can't run fast. Pat plays really good basketball, probably as good as he is a smart guy. I'm sure he's bad at something. I don't really know what it is, but I can
Everything
just
else.
say this: you're gonna get the real deal here. SFL.media, another podcast in the books. Look up in the sky. There's a UFO. Oh wait, no, it's in the water, way down deep where you can't see it.